Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 10. Departure of Lord Krishna for Dwarka, text number 1. Sanago Vacha Hadva Swarik Ta Prida Atataino Yudhishthira Dharma Britam Varishtaha Sahanujai Pratyavaruda Bhojana Katam Parita Kim Akar Rishit Tata Sonako Vacha Hadva Swarikta Sprida Atataino Yudhishthira Dharma Vritam Varishtaha Sahanujai Pratya Viruda Bhojana Katam Paritak Kim Akarshitit Tata Uvacha Tanarjayino Yitiro Dharma Ritam Varishtaha Sahajai Pratya Ruda Bhojana Katam Parita Kimarakari Shitata Shanago Vacha Adva Surikta Srisharati Taino Rishtata Sahajanai Pratyaviruda Bhojana Katamparita Kim Akarshitit Pata Sonaka Vacha Sonaka inquired Hatva after killing Svarita the legal inheritance Sprida desiring to usurp Atatayina the aggressor Yudhishthira King Yudhishthira Dharma Britam of those who strictly follow religious principles Varishtaha greatest Saha Anujai with his younger brothers Pratyaviruda restricted Bhojana acceptance of necessities Katam how Paritaha engaged Kim what Kari shit executed Tata thereafter. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Shonaka Muni asked, after killing his enemies who desired to usurp his rightful inheritance, how did the greatest of all religious men, Yudhishthira, Maharaj Yudhishthira, assisted by his brothers, rule his subjects? Surely he could not freely enjoy his kingdom with unrestricted consciousness. Please repeat. Shonaka Muni asked, after killing his enemies, who desired to usurp his rightful inheritance, how did the greatest of all religious men, Maharaj Yudhisthira, assisted by his brothers, rule his subjects? Surely he could not freely enjoy his kingdom with unrestricted consciousness. Purport. Maharaj Yudhisthira was the greatest of all men of religion. Thus he was not at all inclined to fight with his cousins for the sake of enjoying the kingdom. He fought for the right cause because the kingdom of Hastinapura was his rightful inheritance, and his cousins wanted to usurp it for themselves. He fought therefore for the right cause under the guidance of Lord Sri Krishna. But he could not enjoy the result of his victory because his cousins were all killed in the fight. He therefore ruled over the kingdom as a matter of duty, assisted by his younger brothers. The inquiry was important for Shonaka Rishi, wanted to know about the behavior of Maharaj Yudhisthira when he was at ease to enjoy the kingdom. Text number 2. Suduvacha vamsa kuror vamsha davagni niritam samrodayitva bhava bhavano hari niveshayitva nija raja ishvaro yudhishtiram prita mana bhuvavaha. Translation. Shuddha Goswami said, Lord Sri Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the maintainer of the world, became pleased after reestablishing Maharaj Yudhisthira in his own kingdom, and after restoring the Kuru dynasty, which had been exhausted by the bamboo fire of anger. Purport. This world is compared to a forest fire caused by the cohesion of bamboo bushes. Such a forest fire takes place automatically. For bamboo, cohesion occurs without external cause. Similarly, in the material world, the wrath of those who want to lord it over material nature interacts, and the fire of war takes place, exhausting the unwanted population. Such fires of wars take place, and the Lord has nothing to do with them. But because he wants to maintain the creation, he desires the mass of people to follow the right path of self-realization, which enables the living beings to enter into the kingdom of God. The Lord wants the suffering human beings to come back home, back to God, to Him, and cease to suffer the threefold material pangs. The whole plan of creation is made in that way, and one who does not come to his senses suffers in the material world by the pangs inflicted by the illusory energy of the Lord. The Lord therefore wants his bona fide representative to rule the world. Lord Sri Krishna descended to establish this sort of regime and to kill the unwanted persons who have nothing to do with his plan. The battle of Kurukshetra was fought according to the plan of the Lord, so that undesirable persons could get out of the world, and a peaceful kingdom under his devotee could be established. The Lord was therefore fully satisfied when King Yudhisthira was on the throne, and the seedling of the dynasty of Kuru, in the person of Maharaj Parikshit, was saved. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutaya Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Vacharane Nirvishesha Srinivadi Paskyatyade Sadharane. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna mentions that one should do his duty. That even Krishna, when he comes here, he does his duty as a Kshatriya or as a cowherd boy. Now, Arjuna asked the question, Shreyan swadharmo viguna paradharmat swanustitat shreyadarame nidanam shreyak paradharmo bhayavaha. It is better, as Krishna says, Shreyak swadharmo viguna. It is better to do one's own prescribed duty even if it's faulty. Shreyan swadharmo viguna paradharmat swanustitat. Then para means someone else's duty, even if you can do it perfectly. Swadharma, Shreyak swadharma viguna paradharma swanustitat. Shrey dharme dhinanam shreyak. It is better to fail or be destroyed in performing one's own duty, because to perform someone else's duty is dangerous. So Arjuna didn't want to do his duty. He thought he would get some better result by doing someone else's duty. But Krishna actually says that's everyone's problem, is that they don't know what their duty is, and therefore they do the wrong duty, or someone else's duty, but the wrong duty in general. In other words, if you're a square peg, you shouldn't try to act like a round one, and vice versa. If you're an elephant, you should eat like an elephant. And if you're an ant, you should eat like an ant. But if you're an ant and you eat like an elephant, there'll be some problems. And if you're an elephant, you eat like an ant, you'll also get into difficulty. So one should know what he is. Utkramantam stitim vapi bhunjana vagunanvita vimudo nanapashanti pashanti jnana chakshusha. The foolish, they cannot understand what kind of body one enjoys under the spell of the material modes of nature. Or actually Krishna says, the foolish cannot understand how the living entity quits his body, or what kind of body he enjoys under the spell of the modes of nature, but those whose eyes are trained in knowledge can see all this clearly. So that's why we have these books. That's why we have the classes. To train our eyes with knowledge so we can identify what is ignorance, what is passion, what is goodness, and what is transcendental. See, blogasti is goodness here also? Blogasti? What is goodness here? What's that? Verlina, okay. Shrasta? Shrasti. Passion? Trust. And then we have nivejastava for ignorance. So, Sattvam Rajas Tamayiti Guna Prakriti Sambhava Nivananti Mahavaho Dehe Dehinam Avyam. The material nature consists of goodness, passion, ignorance. And when the living entity comes in contact with these modes, he becomes conditioned by them. So if we can't see the modes of material nature, then we're blind. If that's what the material nature is made out of, and we can't see it, then we're fools. And if we want to stop being foolish, then we have to learn how to discriminate between goodness, passion, ignorance. Otherwise, we don't care, or we don't know if we're acting in goodness, or we're acting in passion, or we're acting in goodness, or we're acting transcendentally. We can't discriminate. Therefore, Krishna says at the end of Bhagavad Gita, Adyeshate chayaimam dharmam sampadam avyo jnana jagnena tenaham ishtakswam iti memate. That I declare that one who studies this conversation, he worships me by his intelligence. So why are we hearing this conversation, and which the Srimad Bhagavatam is only expansion of the Bhagavad Gita, in order to worship Krishna with our intelligence. In other words, to use our intelligence to worship Krishna. But unless we can see with the eyes of knowledge, those who can see with the eyes of knowledge, anadidvam nirgunadvat paramatmayam avyam shariras topikonteya nakaroti nanalipyate. Those who can see with the eyes of knowledge, those who can see with the eyes of eternity, can see that the soul is eternal, transcendental, and beyond the modes of material nature. Despite contact with the material body, O Arjuna, the soul is neither doing anything nor is he entangled. So if we can't see that, we're not in total ignorance, we're just 99% in ignorance. At least if we can see how the material nature is working, we have a little bit of knowledge. Therefore, Chanaka Pandit says, how do we do that? Matrivat paradareshu, paradwareshu lostravat, atmavat sarabhuteshu, yakpashyati sapandita. How do we come to that? We have to act according to the mode of goodness. We have to act in knowledge. And one who's in knowledge, what does he see? Does he see mathematical formulas? Does he understand how the universe is acting? Well, acting in the sense that what's going on in Mars, what's going on in the moon, what's going on in the North Pole. No, he sees Mantrivat Paradareshu, Paradwareshu Losrava. He sees everyone else's property is like garbage in the street. In other words, he's not envious. He's not trying to acquire resources for his sense gratification and envious of people who have more sense gratification than he has in the material world. The material world is compared to zeros. Some people have a lot of zeros, and some people have less zeros. But at the end of the day, it all adds up to zero. And Matrivat Paradareshu, he sees every woman except for his wife to be just like his mother. He doesn't see every woman to be as an object of exploitation for one's own sense gratification. He sees every woman to be like a mother. That is, the mother is, in the Vedic culture at least, is respected and honored. And paradwareshu lostravat, atmavat saru, and he sees all living entities to be spiritual beings just like he is, and treats them accordingly. So even if one is in the mode of ignorance, one has to identify the person in the mode of ignorance, or the mode of passion, or the mode of goodness, so he can reciprocate with them accordingly, appropriately, to help raise their consciousness to a higher state of consciousness. But beyond that, transcendentally, as analogously with that example given by Chanaka Pandit, Krishna says, Bhoktaram yagatapasam sarvaloka maheshwaram suridam sarvabhutanam gyatvam shantim richati. A person who has actually real transcendental knowledge and sees the whole picture more clearly, don't put your feet like that, who has a more broad picture, he sees not only Losravat Paradar, but he sees that all the property here belongs to Krishna. Not only he doesn't envy the material nature of those who have more, but he sees that everything is meant to be utilized in Krishna's service. Prabhupada gives the example of a person walking down the street and he sees a $100 bill. And he renounces it. It's not mine. And he walks by. Another person sees a $100 bill and he picks it up and puts it in his pocket. Another person sees a $100 bill, picks it up and finds its owner and delivers it to him. So the first one is Lostravat. He doesn't become attached to the property. He just walks by. He's better than the person who picks it up, puts it in his pocket. He's dishonest. He's the materialist, the person who's a vikarmi, sinful person. But the most intelligent person picks it up, and he knows it's Krishna's property, and brings it back to Krishna, utilizes it for Krishna's service. So the rascal is this dishonest person who steals the money or denies that everything belongs to Krishna or is ignorant of everything belongs to Krishna, they're actually in ignorance. One who doesn't accept, one who doesn't know, accept, or utilize things in Krishna's service, they're clearly in the mode of ignorance. And the destination is the lowest species of life. Not that I'm condemning them. Krishna said, Orvam gachati sattvasta, madhye tishtati rajasa, jaganya gunavrittista, ado gachati tamasa. When one acts in the mode of goodness, he goes upward to the heavenly planets, the higher planets. He acts in passion, he comes back to the middle planets. And he acts in ignorance, he descends to the lower species of life. So if we don't know that Krishna is God, or that there is a God, whoever they may be, like a gender didn't know who God was, but at least he accepted there was a God, and we act whimsically, then the result is we'll go down to the lowest species of life eventually. Not immediately, but it'll take some time. But descent will be there. And Bhoktaram Yaga Tapasam, that Krishna is we may accept that everything belongs to Krishna, but now we have to find out what is our duty so we can utilize it in Krishna's service. So that's a little bit more intelligence, to find out who's an actually bona fide representative of Krishna, and then to utilize our energies in Krishna's service, whether in karma yoga, or jnana yoga, or astanga yoga, some yoga to reach Krishna, to utilize things in Krishna's service. Therefore, pitana sasyat, swajano nasasyat, guruna sasyat, jananina sasyat, daivam nasasyat, pitana sasyat, namochita yaksum paiti mrityum. So not only the guru, those who are initiating or speaking about Krishna consciousness officially, that they're supposed to help us get out of repeated birth and death. But everyone in the society, every leader in the society is supposed to have the knowledge to help one progress in some way or another. Guru, Nasesi, Swajano, even the relatives. Our relatives are actually truly friendly. They're really part of our family when they have some information they can give us. Like in Vedic culture, there would be joint marriage. The grandparents would teach the children how to properly engage in their relationship as marriage and raise the children. Everyone would help out to bring the children up to Krishna consciousness, so they'd be prepared to accept Krishna consciousness. Swajano, pitana sasyat, swajano nasasyat, pitana swajanina sasyat, jananina sasyat. So the husband, the wife, the husband, or the father and the mother, they're supposed to raise the children. They have a duty also to train the children in Krishna consciousness. Not that they train them up like animals, or they're allowed to be trained as animals, and then afterwards they grow up. Oh, if you want to, you can become a devotee. You spend 20 years as an animal, and then you try to become a devotee. You spend the next 50 years trying to become a human being. Daiva, worshipful persons. Who's worshipful nowadays? They don't know. People are eating meat, who are having illicit sex, and gambling, intoxication. They're worshipable. But Swarit Vrohostra Karar, Samstuta Purusha Pashu, Yat Karma Patiyo Peta, Jatu Namaka Dagraja. That men who are like hogs and dogs and camels and asses, they worship people who are bigger hogs, dogs, camels, and asses. That's the so-called diving. Rather than people who are actually following religious principles, at least, what to speak of being elevated in the Varnashram system. We're actually protecting the animals and protecting the earth, protecting the Kshatriyas, arranging things for the advancement of the human society, protecting them from lust and anger and greed, or the Brahmins who actually have knowledge of how to do it. Those are the persons who are Daivi, representatives of Krishna. And what to speak of the husband, how he's supposed to protect his wife and elevate her in Krishna consciousness. Otherwise, one should not become any of these things if he can't help the devotee or the person elevate themselves out of birth and death. Then they become implicated. Then they become entangled themselves in birth and death. Therefore, one should know that Krishna is the actual enjoyer, and we should know who's actually authorized to tell us how to please Krishna. And he's Suridam Sarvabhutanam. Everything Krishna does is for our welfare, our benefit. How to see how Krishna is working for our welfare and benefit, and learn from it. When we're doing the right thing, then we become Krishna conscious, and we become blissful. And we do the wrong thing, we become full of anxiety. And we have to learn from that. And he's our friend. Nothing is happening by accident. Everything is should be a learning experience. So Maharaj Yudhisthira, how did he enjoy the kingdom after so many people had died in the battle of Kurukshetra in order to help him attain the throne? And that the world is compared here to a forest fire. Samsara dava nanalita loka. And why is it fire? Because if we're not Krishna conscious, then, as I said at the beginning, we don't know what our duty is, either spiritually or materially. Then the result is, Krishna says, Arjuna asked him that, I really want to do my duty, but why can't I do it? And he wants to do his duty, he can't do it. Arjuna vacha ta kena prayukto yam papam charati purusha anicca napi varshneya baladiva niyojita. What is this? Why? Ta kena prayukto yam papam charati purusha. I want to do my duty, but why am I able to do it? So Krishna says, Sri Bhagavana vacha kama esha kroda esha Rajaguna samudbhava mahashano mahapatma vidyanam ihavarina. It is lust, only Arjuna, which is born of the mode of passion and later transformed into wrath, which is the all-devouring sinful enemy of this world. So it all starts with lust. If we think, well, I'm pure, how can I do anything wrong? How can anyone ever tell me I've done anything wrong? No. We have this material body, which is a product of our sinful activities in the past. We could be in the body self-realized, but I think most of us didn't take birth like Shukadeva Goswami, a liberated soul from birth. So we were born in ignorance, and as Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur said, or as it says in the scripture, Kalos Shudra Sampravat, we were born in ignorance of Shudras, and by modern education, we were trained up to be less than animals. So we could have been trained up to become free from lust, anger, and greed from the beginning. Unfortunately, we were trained to become more absorbed in lust, anger, and greed. Therefore, we should know that we're being afflicted. We have a disease, a heart disease. If you see a parking place and it says handicapped, you can park there. And they say, why did you park there? You say, well, I have a heart disease. We'll be honest, we have a heart disease. We're covered by lust, anger, and greed. Dumena vriyate varnir yatar darsho valena cha yatar venena ta garvas tata tenedam avritam. As the fire is covered by dust, as the embryo is covered by womb, or as the mirror is covered by dust, so similarly, the living entity is covered by different degrees of this lust. Avritam gyan etena gyanino nityavarina kamarupena kuntya dusprayana analena cha. Thus a man's pure consciousness is covered by his eternal enemy in the form of lust, which is never satisfied and which burns like fire. So we all have this heart disease. And because of that, we don't always do our duty. So when we're not doing our duty, it's not because, why do we become distracted? We can become distracted by we want to fulfill our lust, our desire to enjoy. And the result is we get ourselves into difficulty. Real anxiety, fear, because it follows. From ignorance, comes false ego, from false ego comes attachment, aversion comes abhiniveshita. Anxiety due to the fact that we're going to die. We're identifying with the temporary world, and therefore we put ourselves in anxiety due to that identification. So, because people are lusty, it's guaranteed they're going to become greedy. And because they're greedy, they become frustrated. At first, lust, we satisfy our lust, and we like it. It may not be what we're supposed to do. We know we're doing something which is out of our duty, out of even what to speak of Krishna consciousness. And then we feel some pleasure, so-called pleasure from the lust, from satisfying lust. And then we become greedy to get some more satisfaction the same way. And eventually it turns into poison, because that's the nature of satisfying lust. And then we become frustrated and angry. And the result is other angry people, we meet them when we fight with the other angry people to satisfy our anger. Because people are so angry nowadays, you don't even have to meet another angry person. You just take out your anger on anything. And from anger, then our illusion increases. Whatever we do, we justify. It was meant to be, because I did it. No fault on my part. I had to do it. Because I'm a servant of the Supreme, lust, anger, and greed. I'm a faithful servant. Kamadinam katidas palitas dornideshas teshamai jata na karuna no trapa no pushanti. It doesn't matter what lust, anger, and greed are telling us to do. We do it because we're dutiful, at least to them. And it doesn't matter. Then we never feel ashamed at all what I've done. I can always justify it. It was my duty. I had to do it. I felt like that. That's the minor thing. I felt like that. How can I deny my feelings, repress my feelings? And there's no end to it. There's no succession. There's no break to gratifying my senses. Incessantly they're demanding something, and to the best of my ability, I'm trying to satisfy them. Uchidata yatapate lababudis. Therefore, we have to obtain some knowledge. Otherwise, the forest fire is going on because of all the angry people and lusty people and greedy people fighting with each other. And if we join them, we'll get burned too in the forest fire, material existence. Therefore, Krishna arranges it that all these lusty, angry, and greedy people in illusion, they get together and they eliminate each other. So that hopefully someone's left to chant Hare Krishna. Because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, as Lord Nityananda told Lord Chaitanya, don't kill Jagai and Madai because there will be no one left to preach to. So our killing of the lusty, angry, greedy people is to kill their lust, anger, and greed, and our own, by distributing knowledge and acting with knowledge in Krishna consciousness. Then we can actually do something beneficial for ourselves and for everyone else. Otherwise, they're going to kill each other anyhow. We don't have to get involved in it. It's unfortunate, but we're not the controllers. Even Krishna doesn't interfere, as it says here. How can we interfere? We can only interfere by becoming their well-wisher and trying to give them Krishna consciousness. Because we're not the super soul. We don't have to be neutral. We can actually, that's why it says that the devotees, the one who's acting as a Madhyama Adhikari, can actually give kripa, can give mercy. Krishna, he's taking the role of the judge, the neutral person, but his mercy is extended through his devotees. So we're supposed to be merciful. And if we're not merciful to the innocent, we're not trying to help make friends with the devotees and worship Krishna, then we'll join the demons and the atheists. We'll think they're good people. Why not join them? Join the winners in this world. Then we'll become implicated in their sinful mentality. Therefore, we should fight for Krishna's cause, like Mother Yudhisthira did, although he was not very enthusiastic at first, like Arjuna was not enthusiastic. But when he understood everything, he knew what was beneficial for everyone, and he fought with full enthusiasm because he saw everything properly. So I'll stop there. Thank you. Any questions? Yes. Do we have a microphone?
Thank you very much for the lessons. I want to ask, when we have family members that we want to preach to, and they're clearly in the mode of ignorance, how to approach them, because we can't preach directly to them.
Give them some prasadam.
Okay.
Just be nice to them. No one in this material world is nice to anyone. So if you're nice, they'll wonder, how did you become so nice? What happened to you? Then they may become a little inquisitive. But give them prasadam, at least. That will change them a little.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Anything else? All right. Thank you very much. Grantaraj, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Premanande.